Our next session in Adobe InDesign, this is session number 7, and it's going to be all about going from Adobe Illustrator into InDesign, creating something in Illustrator and taking it over into InDesign. It's possible to do that, and there's a couple of little things that are good to know when you are trying to work like that. So let's take a look at what we're going to be doing. First of all, I'm going to pull up this PDF form, and this will be parked on Drive L if you need to look at it. All right, it's just called AI to ID, which means Adobe Illustrator to InDesign. And here's what we're working on. It's a 20-point thing. You're going to create a little bit of artwork in Adobe Illustrator. And we've already done some work in Adobe Illustrator, so you have a little experience there. Once you create the artwork, you'll have to save it, and then you're going to have to place it into InDesign. All right, so again, here's the flow of this thing. First of all, you're going to create a little bit of artwork, a face, a cartoon animal, a quick logo of some kind, something like that, and save your artwork on your network drive. This should give it a file name that you will remember. I'll show you an example here in a minute. Then you set up your InDesign document, and it's just going to be a new document, and either orientation, either portrait or landscape, is okay for what we're doing today. This doesn't have to be a real big thing. Then I've got the steps here for placing the artwork into InDesign, whatever you created in Adobe Illustrator. And then all you have to do is save your InDesign document on your network drive. I've got a suggested file name right here, and then you drag it and drop it into your turn-in folder when you're all done. Now I've got one that's kind of finished in Adobe Illustrator, or I'm sorry, in InDesign right here. It's a little self-portrait. Yeah, I know it's pretty bad, but this was created in Adobe Illustrator and then placed into InDesign, and you run into situations where you might want to do something like that, make something in Illustrator and then use it in InDesign. So I'm going to go ahead and close this one for right now, and I'll not save that. And I want to go back to Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to fire up Adobe Illustrator here because I want to demonstrate for you how this is all going to work. All right. Adobe Illustrator is firing up here. And again, remember, you've had some experience in Adobe Illustrator. So here I am in Illustrator, and I'm working on a Mac, so again, it looks a little bit different than what it does on Windows, but I'll just click File and New. And it doesn't matter, the orientation of this doesn't really matter either. I'll just use landscape orientation. All right, I'm going to do this very quickly. I'm going to make kind of a a self-portrait-y kind of thing like you saw before. Here's a head. I might lighten that up just a little bit. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to go back to the ellipse tool here, and we're going to draw in an ellipse like that and fill that with white. And then I'm going to make another little ellipse here and fill that with black. And I'll use my arrow and pull that to right there, and then I'm going to select both of those and do an alt drag, and again, trust me, not anything. I'm using the paintbrush here to make a nose. Alright, and a little mouth here. Let's fill that with red. Using the paintbrush here to make a division. I didn't get the paintbrush. Let's try that again. Paintbrush, and we'll make a dividing line on the lips. That's lovely, isn't it? And then let's stroke in the old beard here. Yeah, I got what I wanted there. Okay. Just using a paintbrush, and I'm stroking in my white gray beard. I guess it'd be nice if I gave myself some ears of some description. But I'll get this all stroked in here. Oh yeah, this is lovely. And again, it doesn't matter that much what you do, create as far as, oh, that's good enough. Cancel that and Alt drag that. Some really good looking ears there, aren't they? Yeah. Okay. All right, and I need to save this. I'll do File and Save As, and you would save it on your network drive here. What I'm going to do is save it in this folder that I have on my Mac that I'm using here. All right, my Apps class, and InDesign, and AI, and okay, and give it some kind of name that you will remember. I'll just call it Self-Port for Self-Portrait because it's you know, it's perfect. Looks just like me. Yeah, okay. All right, so the artwork is done in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to hop back over to InDesign and I'll make a new document. And it can be either a landscape or portrait, it doesn't matter. I'll just pop that up. All right, so now, you know, if you peek back here on the handout, all the steps are here for placing the artwork here. All right, so I'm going to place the document in InDesign. I'll go File and Place. And I'm going to browse to the folder where I have that all saved away, Self-Port, right there. There it is. That's the one I just created, and you would do the same thing. Get to your network drive, find the thing that you want. But before you open it, here's kind of the key. In the Place Doc dialog box, I want to show some import options here. Show import options. All right, I want to check mark that, and then I can click Open, and it's going to give me some options here that I would not have gotten had I left that unchecked. All right, so I'm going to, you know, I'll go back here and here are the things that we want. I want to crop it to the bounding box. All right, I just want to use, I don't want to use that whole Adobe Illustrator artboard. If I go back to to Adobe Illustrator, I don't want to use this whole artboard. I just want the artwork. All right, so here what I can do is say I want to crop it to the bounding box. I'm going to use the visible layers only here. All right, now also, and I'm looking back at the handout here, I want to use a transparent background. All right, again, if I go to Adobe Illustrator, I don't want to have a white background behind it. I would rather have a transparent background around this. All right, so here in InDesign, I'll go back to InDesign. I'm going to make sure that this is checkmarked for transparent background. All right, so here's a review of all of this. You know, I'll cancel this for a second. When I went to File and I went to Place, and I found my file here that I want, and I said Show Import Options. Checkmark that. All right, so I click Open, and it's kind of showing me a little thumbnail right here, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the see, there's other options. I could do the, you know, I could do all kinds of things here, but I just want the bounding box for the visible layers, and I want a transparent background. Okay, good. So I'll click OK. And I get the same kind of thing as I've gotten before. I get this cursor that looks like the artwork, and I could just click it once, it'll place it on there, or I can drag it and it will place it on there. Now, you might notice here that it really kind of doesn't look very good. If I zoom in on this some, if I zoom in, look at like the edges of the eyes and the edges of the head, that looks pretty crummy. You know, that looks like cheap, pixely, rasterized, yucky artwork, and you know, that's not what it looked like over here in Adobe Illustrator. It looked nice and clear and smooth and all that kind of stuff in Adobe Illustrator, and I take it into InDesign, it doesn't look good. All right, well, here's what's happening. If I go to the View menu and I go to Display Performance, I'm going to crank this up to High Quality Display. It's doing what's called Typical Display right now. So if I crank that, oh my goodness, that looks much better. Now, I'll zoom back on that a little bit. The trade-off there is if you click View and you set your display performance on High Quality Display, then Adobe InDesign runs a little bit slower, because it has to kind of display everything at high quality, so it's a little slower, takes a little bit more time. So, you know, usually what I do when I'm working in InDesign, I just leave this on typical display. Now, things don't look as good when you do that, But if you really want to get a peek at a big document with all your pictures in it and everything that you're putting into a big document, and want to see what it really is kind of going to look like, well, you can always just turn this on for a minute. Go to display performance, do a high quality display, and you get a peek at what it's really going to look like, and it looks better that way. All right, and then you can always go back to the view menu and go to display performance and put it on typical, or you could put it on fast, which is going to look like that. All right, it just shows you where the picture is going to be, but it's really fast. Well, I'm going to set it on display and typical, and that again, it gives you kind of a lower quality preview, but InDesign is going to operate faster when you do it that way. All right, well, we've got the job done. I created something in Illustrator and I put it into InDesign, and that's what today is all about. So I would take this and go File and Save As, and make sure I get to my network drive here, and I would just save it with, I would just recommend call it AI, which is kind of the shortcut for Adobe Illustrator. AI to ID, those are like the the abbreviations or the icon designations or whatever you want to call it. AI to ID, save it there, drag it and drop it into your turn-in folder, and it's another one done, another one in the books. You're becoming experts. I'm just so proud of you.